Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, welcome to my channel. My name is Mikaela, and if you are new, you probably didn't know that I just recently had my baby 3 weeks ago. She is sitting right here taking a nap, so I'm trying to be a little bit quiet so she doesn't wake up. She's been having a hard time sleeping lately, and I just don't want to wake her up. But anyways, today's video is going to be about my labor because I had planned on making a video recording the whole process, but then that didn't end up happening, so I'm just going to explain what happened. And yeah, so let's get to it. I began having contractions. They were very sporadic. I didn't want to keep track of them because they were just random. Some of them would be pretty consistent and then they would trail off, and then I wouldn't have contractions for another hour or so. They started becoming more and more consistent. They were about 20 minutes apart, and Jacob and I were just sitting at home watching movies, and these contractions are a little bit more intense than what I've been having, so I told myself that I was going to walk around, bounce on the yoga ball, do what I needed to do to get this labor started, because I am not going through this pain and not going in labor today. So we started doing that, and I think it was around 6 o'clock when contractions were about 20 minutes apart, and then an hour later they became 8 to 10 minutes apart. And so I texted my mom, who lives about 2 hours away, and told her what was going on, and she immediately said that that was labor, and she started heading down here so that she'd be here for the birth. And then, I don't know, it's about 8 o'clock, and I believe that's when my mom got here, 8 or 9, and the contractions were 3 to 5 minutes apart. So we decided to go for a walk just to make sure that the contractions were going to stay consistent, and they did stay consistent. And that day, September 8th, was actually Jacob's mom's birthday, so she was out of town for her birthday party with her sisters, and she ended up getting back that night around 9 or so. And we're all just watching Star Wars, and my contractions were staying pretty consistent. They were getting a lot more painful to where I was like curled over a pillow, and tears were kind of coming out of my eyes at this point. My back was just hurting me the whole day, and when I was having a contraction, it was hurting a lot worse. So Jacob's mom and my mom were telling us to go to the hospital, and I just didn't want to go to the hospital quite yet. So it wasn't until about 10:30 when I told Jacob, I said, okay, let's get our stuff ready and let's head to the hospital. So we packed up the truck. While we were driving there, the hospital's like 30 minutes away. While we were driving there, the contractions were getting what seemed a little bit closer, a little bit more intense. We finally get to the hospital, and we have to go through the ER, and I told Jacob, I was like, I don't really want to go through the ER and walk all the way to labor and delivery. So I did not want to walk through the hospital in labor. So we get to the ER. The nurse asked me if my water broke, which it hadn't broke at that time yet. She wheels us up to labor and delivery, where they put me into a room to monitor me to make sure that I'm actually in labor, and they checked my cervix, and it was at a 3 at that point. Before then, I was only dilated to a 1. I think it was 5 days before this happened, I had just dilated to a 1, so that was pretty quick. While we were in the room waiting to be admitted into the hospital, my contractions got far worse. I tried standing up through the labor, but it was very uncomfortable. It felt like she was going to slide out with every contraction, so I had to sit back down. At this point, they're asking me if I wanted an epidural, and I kept telling them, no, I want to try and get as far as I can or try to go natural. I think it might have been like an hour later. So this is about 12 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock in the morning, September 9th. And we finally get to our room. Contractions are getting worse. It seemed like they were getting more painful and getting a lot closer together. And yet again, the nurse there asked me if I wanted an epidural. I told her no. I asked for a yoga ball because I was going to try and sit on the yoga ball and see if I could breathe my way through it. But I just could not motivate myself to even move. So I ended up just sitting in the bed. Probably an hour later, contractions were just right on top of each other. There was no break. Right at that point, I had already dilated to a 4. Well, I had dilated to a 4 about an hour after they checked me when I was a 3. And this is about 2 o'clock when I finally just gave in, and she asked me if she could check me, and I told her heck no, because every time she checked me it caused a contraction, and at this point I was just wanting some relief. Like, it was just consistent, it was getting more and more painful. And then my water broke, and then it got even worse. With each contraction my water was just like gushing out, and I told her I needed an epidural now. And so they got the guy to come in with the epidural, he did it once, and he told me to wait 15-20 minutes and that it would have done its full effect. After that time, I still was feeling contractions, I was still feeling the pain, but my legs were numb, but I was still feeling everything. So he had to re-administer it, and the second time he did it, it ended up being a lot better. Couldn't feel anything anymore, and at that point, she checked me right after he had done the epidural, and I was already to a 6. So I was proud that I made it to either a 5 or 6 without the epidural. But at that point, it was just too much. And then at that point, after the epidural, it was late at night, but we were just so anxious, me and Jacob, that we couldn't sleep. And for some reason, my body was just shaking so bad. Like, I was just shaking really bad. They're like, yeah, it's an effect of the epidural, but I was shaking before the epidural as well, so I probably had some of that from the epidural plus before the epidural, and it just made it a lot worse. So I couldn't really sleep because the shaking was just so bad and it was bothering me so much. And it was then when I realized that we had forgotten to take the camera, and we totally just forgot to video the whole thing because we were just going crazy. Like, we did not expect this to happen. It was almost like we were unprepared, and just when we got to the hospital, I was just focused on my contractions and the pain, and Jacob was there supporting me, so we just did not even think about the camera until after I had the epidural, and I was like, dang it, I was going to film this, and I really wanted video for myself so that I could look back onto it and be like, wow, like, that's amazing that even happened. But we totally forgot about the camera, so that is what happened. See, I was pretty much dilating a centimeter every hour, and by 6 o'clock, oh hi Morty, it was dilated to a 10, but my doctor was not going to arrive at the hospital till 7, and then she actually had a surgery to do at 7:30 or so. So I had to wait until 8:30 to begin pushing. So we started pushing with the nurse at 8:30. By 9 o'clock, the doctor arrived, and by 9:19 on September 9th, 2019, Luna was born. And if you guys didn't know or didn't watch my last video of baby girl's name reveal, her name is Luna Orelli. And my birth plan obviously didn't go as planned because one, I did want to go natural and I wanted to do like a shower water birth with the yoga ball and walk around, but that obviously didn't happen. And another thing was I wanted to have Luna, and then once she was born, just keep her on me and spend time with her and then not take her to the nursery. But she ended up breathing in some amniotic fluids, so she had to go into transition. This is basically a nursery where they watch her and make sure that everything is okay. Like, she swallowed amniotic fluid, but it wasn't so serious to go to the NICU. But it was serious enough not to keep her in my room with me and to have to be monitored for a while. She was in there for maybe an hour and a half before they brought her back in, and everything was good. And now baby Luna is here, and I get to do all the cuddles. If you guys have any more questions about my labor and delivery, just comment down below. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so that you'll get notification about when I upload my next video. And I hope to see you guys next time. Bye.